Friends, we are going to begin the service. If everyone would have a seat, please.
I wanted to pass this.
Oh, absolutely. We are going to begin. If everyone would have a seat, please. We are beginning the service. Everyone, please have a seat. We are going to begin the funeral service for Mr. Jeff Fisher. If you have a cell phone, I'd ask you kindly to place it in a silent mode or turn it completely off at this time. I would also like to welcome everybody via live stream on behalf of the family. Thank you for attending as well. Services will be conducted by Rabbi Paul F. Cohn of Temple Jeremiah in Northfield.
We are here to fulfill the very sad duty, the duty that comes to us too soon to pay honor to the life and to the love of Jeffrey Scott Fisher. Before we begin the service itself, there is a ritual that we perform, a ritual that's called Kriya. It's a Hebrew word literally that means tearing. When our ancestors heard of the loss of a loved one, they would actually tear the article of clothing that they were wearing. In fact, the first person that we read ever doing this is when our ancestor Jacob, upon hearing of the death of his son Joseph, tore the garment that he was wearing. A sign of grief and sadness, to be sure, but also a sign of the confusion and also the anger that we feel that Jeffrey has been taken from our midst. The Kriya ribbon which we use today will serve also as an outward sign to those that you will meet in the coming day that indeed there has been a tear in the fabric of your lives. So without having to say a word, people will see the ribbon and will know how to respond accordingly. So I'll ask the family that are wearing the ribbons to please rise as you are able and come close. At a time when it is most difficult for us to offer words of blessing, we're actually given words by our tradition to recite in this moment. And I invite you to repeat the words of the blessing after me, first in Hebrew and then in the English. Baruch atah Adonai Elohim melech haolam dayan ha'emet. Blessed are you, God. Blessed are you, God. Ruler of the universe. The judge of truth. The rabbis, in a memorable parable, tell of a wealthy king who hired many laborers to work in his orchards and his vineyards. One day, the parable continues, the workers noted that one of the men worked but half a day and received as much or more pay than they did. Puzzled by this, they came to the king, the employer, to learn the reason. Why is it, they wanted to know, that he worked but half a day and received as great a wage as we who labored the full day? The king replied, the answer is simple. It is because he accomplished in half a day more than you have accomplished by working the entire day. Our beloved Jeff was such a worker in the vineyard of life, which is our world. Though his years were tragically cut short, they were years of accomplishment filled with love and life, family and friends. Though he lived fewer years than are granted to many, he achieved more than most people are able to do, even those to whom God grants a full measure of years. It is a fearful thing to love, a fearful thing to love what death can touch. A fearful thing to love, hope, dream, to be and oh, to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing, to love what death has touched. Death has taken our beloved Jeff. Our friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence, there is lamentation. In their tears, there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, and be with them. For Jeff's love that united us in life and which death cannot sever. For his companionship that we shared along life's path and which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of his heart and mind that brought us joy and happiness and is now a precious remembrance. For all these and more, we give our thanks to God. In this time of grief, we listen to the voice of our sacred scriptures that brings us the ever-new message of God's nearness. It teaches us of our kinship with the divine, in light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, in life as in death. Psalm 23, the Shepherd's Psalm. Adonai ro'i lo echsar, bihinot eshe yarbitzeni, al mei menuchot yenahaleini. Nafshi yeshovev, Yancheni v'magle tzedek. Yancheni v'magle tzedek. Leman shemo. Gam ki elech begetz al mavet lo irara ki ata imadi. Shivtecha umishantecha hema yenachamuni. Taharoch lifanai shulchan neged zorerai. Dishanta vashemen roshi kosi revaya. Ach tov chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai, kol yemei chayai. V'shavti bevet Adonai leorech yamim. Adonai ro'i lo echsar. Adonai ro'i lo echsar. The inside of the pamphlet that you received here at the chapel, you can find the translation of Psalm 23, of the Shepherd's Psalm. And I invite, if you wish, for you to please join together with me. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. In his sorrow, Job cried out, Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, Yehi shem Adonai mevorach. God has given, and God has taken away. Blessed be the name of God. An ancient people, we are well acquainted with grief and the valley of shadows. Death and sorrow are not strangers to us, yet the centuries have taught us that a good name endures beyond the grave, and that there is strength in faith. With Job we say, Adonai natan, God you have given. You gave us a loved one, Jeff Fisher, who will not be forgotten. For all that was good and enduring in his life, we offer the deepest thanks of our hearts. Adonai lakach, God you have taken away. We pray for the strength to turn our broken hearts into an altar of trust before which we acknowledge your sovereignty and your love. As we now say, Yehi shem Adonai mevorach. Blessed be the name of God, now and forever. Amen. I invite you to take these next few moments to call forward the cherished memories that you have of Jeff's life and how his love touched each of our hearts in this moment of silent reflection. May the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight. Be acceptable in your sight. God, our rock and our Redeemer. God, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Words that come from the heart go straight to the heart. As we continue this tribute of love to Jeff's life, we do so with words of family, close friend. We'll hear first from Jeff's brothers, Paul and Michael, from fiancée Paula, from son Ross, and then I'll share the words of Sloan, his daughter.
Thank you all for coming and for all the love and support for my brother, Jeff. Jeff was a unique individual, and he lived his life to the fullest. He was a great partner, with Mike and I in our careers at Danley. And besides me, he was also one of the best salesmen in the company. As a father, he loved his kids, Russ and Sloan, and he was all in on every aspect of their lives. He was passionate and trustworthy in everything he did, including his sports teams, golf, cars, and pets. One of the most touching tributes, I've gotten a lot of great messages, but this was from Bobby Shellist, who was our fantasy football league commissioner, and you guys in fantasy football know it's serious. And he decided going forward to name the league championship trophy as the Jeff Fisher Memorial. Jeff lived more in his 56 years than most people do in their lifetimes. And rest in peace, my little brother.
Wow. Just want to take it in for a second. Wow. Wow. I too want to start by thanking everyone for being here. It's a testament to Jeff that he was loved by so many who wanted to celebrate his life. It all started at 8818 Costner Terrace, Skokie, Illinois, 60076, 676-3396. No area code needed at that time. Whether it was floor hockey in the basement, wiffle ball in the driveway, or hanging out at Devonshire Park, Jeff, Paul, and I never lacked something to do. Our move to Lincolnwood occurred when Jeff was 12, I was 14, and Paul was almost 16. The competitiveness continued. The foosball table in my bedroom, at which we spent countless hours, was a game changer. If you had asked Jeff who was the best, he would have said himself. Ask Paul, he would have said the same thing. Ask me, and I would have told you the truth. Spending summers in Wisconsin with Jeff at Camp Menominee at our home in Lake Geneva, also known as the Getaway, was one of the highlights of our relationship. We were introduced to skiing, snowmobiling, and most profoundly, the value of spending time with family and friends. On to college at Arizona State University, where I was lucky enough to spend 2 years with each of my brothers, Paul and Jeff. Shortly after Jeff graduated, we landed at Danley's Garage World, where we all remained for more than 20 years. The three of us joined Briarwood Country Club, where we enjoyed countless rounds of golf and gatherings with our families. Our father, Marshall, rounded out our foursome. Those were some very special times that I'll never forget. The other day, I was asked by my wife, Michelle, to recount my favorite memory of Jeff. We had so many that just to name one would be impossible. We went to countless Cubs, Bears, Hawks, and Bulls games. We celebrated 6 Bulls championships. Our dad introduced us to Gene and Giorgetti's, where we'd often dine before going to watch Michael Jordan. If it wasn't G&G's, then it was a quick Al's Beef. We all love food, especially Jeff. Super Bowl 17 was the first one that I attended with Jeff. It was a great game in which the team formerly known as the Redskins beat Don Shula's Dolphins 27-17. I was reminded by my son Gabe of a story that Jeff relayed to him about the day. After the game, we stopped for gas on the way home. I forgot to remove the nozzle from our gas tank and drove off with the pump still attached to our car. I feel no need to apologize to Chevron, a company worth $340 billion, but I would like to take the time to apologize to whomever was tasked with repairing the damage I caused. I wonder which other stories Jeff has told my sons. I'll be sure to ask. Another story I'd like to share took place when Jeff was 10 years old. My dad took us to the Belden Stratford Hotel in Chicago for a backgammon tournament. Later on in life, I realized the tournament was also an event for singles looking to meet significant others. Anyways, Jeff kept winning and winning against much older competition. Imagine getting your ass kicked by a 10-year-old at a singles event. That was Jeff. Situations happen in life where we go sideways and forget what really is important. I don't believe it should take a tragedy to pull friends and families closer together, but sometimes it just happens. And we have been experiencing this phenomenon. I will not let Jeff's passing be in vain and will strive to be the best husband, father, brother, uncle, and friend possible. Please remember this. The first to apologize is the bravest. The first to forgive is the strongest. And the first to move on is the happiest. I'm wearing Jeff's Cubs jersey because I want to be as close to him as possible. I promised Ross and Sloan that I would give it back. And another promise that I'll make is this. When I take this jersey off later tonight, Jeff's spirit will never, ever leave my body or soul. I want to ask everybody here for a favor. Please make sure to hug your loved ones a little tighter and squeeze them a little longer. Jeff, I know you're looking down on us with Mom at your side. I just want you to know that I will always love you with all of my heart. Rest in peace, brother.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. And I have a really long speech typed out, but I'm not going to get through it all. But I started out with saying, Jeff, my dearest Jeff, because that's what he was. He was just dear, and he was kind, and he was loving, and he was supportive. And we've been talking about all the things, these past few days that Jeff offered to his kids, to his nephews, to his dad, to his brothers, to his friends, to his employees. I mean, we're hearing from everybody, that everybody loved him. He did something for everybody, and he touched everyone's soul, and it touched mine. Obviously, I accepted his proposal, right? So he had a smile that could light up a room, and a touch that could penetrate your soul. Our 7 years together were like 100 years, but I needed at least 50 more, but I didn't get it. Because that's who Jeff was. Jeff lives life to the fullest, and he gave me the best years of my life, and I will never, ever forget them. And he gave me this extended family. And Sloan, yesterday when you called me and you asked me to help you with something, Sloanie, your dad was pinching me because you said, just tell them you're my stepmom. And I was like, oh, I'll take it. That's what Jeff wanted. He wanted his kids to be close to each other. He wanted them to be close to his cousins, his uncles, his dad, and me. And oh my God. He loved his children immensely. He talked about them all the time. To know Jeff was to absolutely love Jeff. To know Jeff was to know that he was absolutely stubborn. It would drive me crazy sometimes with that. But it was also the foundation of his values. That's who Jeff was. He was always on time. He was always a gentleman. He never allowed me to pay. He would open doors. He'd walk behind me. He'd look at me with the sweetest look that I've never had anybody look at me that way. He had the softest touch, and we would talk 3 to 8 times a day about nothing and everything. His heart was huge, and he inspired me to keep things going. He never swore. He rarely raised his voice. And he made my life and everybody's life around him fuller every day. He was just getting to this great place, living his life, golfing really, really well. He told me, Clay, that he went golfing with Clay about 2 weeks ago. Clay was in Florida. He was so proud. He said, we did 18 holes, and I was ready to do more, and Clay couldn't keep up. He was really proud of that for himself because he was back in the game. Thank you, everyone, in my heart yearns for him. And I'm not going to get over this. Love you, Sloanie, Ross, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for the Fisher family. You guys are like the pillar of strength. And you guys have been, I don't know of any other family that would embrace me and everyone else the way you guys have. So I'm forever grateful for that, and I'm forever want to be a part of your family. Thank you. And everybody has been saying, how amazing you guys have been, and just hearing conversations, and it says a lot to the Fisher family. All right, thank you.
Tons of people have been asking me how I'm doing, and it really just depends on the moment. In this tragedy, there's sort of been a sense of emotional volatility and dealing with what is a cycle of grief. I wrote this speech out of anger, but today, being here with everyone and seeing so many people I love so much, I feel immense gratitude. So maybe I won't read out the swear words, but we'll see. I really appreciate everyone being here, and as I talk about in this speech, my dad has blessed me with so much, and I think in a sense being here today and with family this week has been, his last blessing. I only got 22 years to spend with my dad. It's just such a short period of time, and I just thought it would be kind of therapeutic for me to provide a timeline of our relationship and what he meant to me at various points in my life. When I was barely even an infant, my dad took me to my first Cubs game. He loved to tell me that. Baseball was my first love, and the first of many things we cherished together. We loved the Cubs. I threw out the first pitch at Wrigley Field thanks to him when I was 7. He coached my DYBA team when I was 8. And that was a tough time for our family. My mom fell into a 3-month coma in November 2008. He stayed with her in the hospital in California, and I was without both of them for over a month. And there's this really special core memory that I have of him coming home, and I remember exactly where in our house I hugged him and the smell of his cologne, and as an 8-year-old, it felt like years apart. While my mom was rehabilitating from having a leg, a foot, and I don't even know how many fingers amputated, he coached my travel baseball team. We won the championship that year, and that was probably the only thing I won in sports. And while looking through his closet on Friday, I found he still kept his coach's windbreaker, which, I don't know, that means a lot to me. I was a really angry kid in those days. I was cynical beyond my years, and my friends probably know I still am, but things started to look up after that, thanks to Derrick Rose and those Bulls teams of the early 2010s. No, but I'm being serious. Those were the best moments of my life, were going to those games, and he always told me about Jordan, and I never got to experience that with him, but it really felt like I did. My dad changed my life by sending me to Menominee, where I was so competitive and I wanted to win everything that he told me he did when he was my age. And at the beginning of high school, there were so many times where people my age, were hanging out with their friends on Friday and Saturday nights when I was 15 years old, and a lot of the time I just hung out with him. We were at Wrigley Field when the Cubs won the pennant. One time he made my dream come true of sitting courtside at a Bulls game, and he made so many of my dreams come true. And while the Houston Rockets were warming up, he asked their center, he interrupted his warm-up, and he said, "Can you take a picture?" And it was Luis Scola. I think he won a gold medal with Argentina. Pretty famous. And he graciously put his arm around me to take the picture. And then my dad just looked at him, and he stuck out his phone. He's like, "No, you take the picture of us." And he just loved to fuck with people like that, and it's the blurriest picture ever. He was so pissed off, but it's my favorite picture. It was hilarious. My dad loved to wrestle with me, and he would always say to me, "One day you'll be able to kick my ass." And I don't think it ever got to that point, really. He treated me like a little brother. He'd come to all my basketball games, and he'd always tell me I was soft and I needed to play harder and rebound more. And I can't wait to do that for my son. I fell in love with soccer during those days, and he would take me to games, even though he just didn't care at all. Just did not care at all. And kind of want to gloss over this part, but there was a really tumultuous point in our relationship where, when I was 17, 18, 19, I could have been a better son, and it was difficult. And, I think that's normal in a teenager's relationship with their parent, but when you only have 22 years with someone, that's just simply, way too many years, and I'm gonna regret it. But Baruch Hashem, we rekindled our once unbreakable bond the past 2 years, and spending time together at his late Florida home. And this year after college, all my friends are scattered across the country. I began to count on his friendship a ton again, just like when I was a kid. And I visited him in Florida the week of this past Christmas, a couple weeks ago, and we had a blast golfing together. And he wanted that to be our thing. He got me my first set of clubs, and even though on the course he wouldn't stop talking trash to me, he, behind my back, would say I had potential, and I really wanted to practice so hard for him. I told him I'd be back in a month or 2 to play with him, but in the meantime, I would go hit balls. And after returning to work, I went to the driving range a week from yesterday ago. And then on Monday, I finished work early, and I went to the range again. And I thought to myself, all right, 2 days in a row, I could keep this up. I can be consistent. Tuesday, the next day, I ran out of time, and he was gone forever. I forgot to even send him pictures at the driving range and let him know I was grateful and I was thinking of him. And, you know, as I said, I have so many regrets, but a day later, I was clinging on to him just like I did that day. He returned from taking care of my mom in the hospital in California, but he wasn't really there, you know. I never really got to say goodbye. I watched him die in front of my eyes, age 56, and there's no happy ending here. This is absolutely awful, and I'm never gonna get over it. And I love you forever, Dad.
First, I was going to have Rabbi read it because it's a long speech and I might not get through it, but I want to try. And I'm sorry if you can't understand everything I'm saying. My dad, the most gentle, kind-hearted, handsome, loving, hilarious, vivacious, and caring soul. Dear Daddy, I will forever miss holding your hand and your hugs that made me feel so safe and life feel so at ease. All I can dream about since you passed has been your hugs and holding your hand. I would do anything to hug you right now. You had this certain softness about your skin that was so precious. When I looked at you, I always saw your sweet and pure heart. I have images in my head of you with your cute aviator prescription glasses, looking over at me with your adorable grin. I'm so proud to be your daughter. You did everything in life with your whole heart in it, whether it was your business, your health, or your family. You were so intentional and careful. I am forever inspired by your work ethic and determination to thrive in life. My heart is warmed by your love for animals and the way you took care of the kitties and the dogs. You got Barney around 6 months ago and always told me he was really my dog. Now, I have adopted Barney as my puppy, and he will forever remind me of your warmth and sweetness. When I came home from Florida on Friday, there was a package from you. My heart sank to the ground as I pulled out a picture framed of Barney with a card that said, "Enjoy love, Dad." There's nothing more that I wish than for you to stay with me on this earth forever. I want you to see me graduate. witness my first job offer, walk me down the aisle when I get married, and be the grandpa of my future kids. More than anything, I have the urge to call you and text you every second. Because that's what we did. We did not go one day without calling, or you did not go one day without calling or texting me. Even if it was just a smile of your cute face golfing, I would do anything to receive that right now. Dad, you truly treated me like your little princess. I knew that you would drop everything for anything I needed to make me happy, always. And I will never take that for granted. You rarely ever raised your voice at me, no matter how much of a brat I was being. You always handled a disagreement with a soft-spoken tone and an understanding of where I was coming from. And it always ended in you just giving me a big hug and unconditional love. You just always knew how to soothe my anxiety and stress. You would always tell me, take it one day at a time. You would also tell me that each day gets better because I get more beautiful in each day. All of your kind words and your love will continue to fill me up forever. We had the most fun together. We had so much in common. We shared the love of travel, food, fashion, home design, and music. I trusted your fashion advice more than any daughter would be able to trust their dads. You always knew the importance of dressing with class, sharpness. You never showed up anywhere without being put together, even through your worst pain. We took so many amazing vacations together. Our last big one was London and Amsterdam with Ross right before COVID. I'll always remember this trip as a symbol of your love for life and exploring. We ate so many amazing meals together and became a food critic club of just 2 members, you and I. Food was one of his love languages. Our food critic club will continue, and now anytime I eat chicken parmesan, deep dish pizza, or a Chicago hot dog, I will think of you. I see so much of you and me and Ross. I am a part of you, and you are part of me. 50% of my blood is yours. When I look in the mirror, I see you. Words cannot describe the loss I feel without you, and how much more I needed from you. More hugs, laughs, and memories, everything. I talked to you on Monday, not knowing that that would be my last time. You told me to call you more often. Just last Monday. I promised you I would. Well, I can no longer call you. I talk to you and I pray to you every day. There were so many things I was supposed to do with you, and I will do them still. And I know you will be so proud of me. I would do anything to be with you right now. You were not supposed to go yet. You were still living a bright and happy life and planning things for the future. My last hug with you was a couple weeks ago, December 28th, 2022. When you dropped Ross and I off at the airport, I remember I felt the urge to hug you goodbye twice that day. Thank God I did. A month ago today, I turned 21. This birthday was a big deal for you. You were so excited to see me turn 21 and texted me a countdown every day 10 days before my birthday. It was the best birthday I've had yet. I was surrounded by my friends in New Orleans, and then you gifted me a hotel room to enjoy my 21st with 2 of my best college friends in Miami afterwards. After that, we celebrated together in Palm Beach. I couldn't have felt luckier to be celebrating my birthday with my dad. You never missed a birthday the last 21 years. You always made me feel special and celebrated. Now I celebrate every day like it's both of our birthdays. I will celebrate you and our bond every day. All I can hope for is that you are in heaven, watching over me with my puppy Lola, and that she's holding you tight in her arms. I'm wearing your necklace with a compass on it that you just bought recently, and I'm holding it close to my heart, hoping you lead me through life. I will continue to love you, honor you, hold our memories close, and dream of you forever. I love everything about you. I love you more. Now, I want to share some memories of my dad. When I first realized my dad was my hero was on my 6th birthday. My mom was sick with toxic shock and was still in the hospital during this time. It was one of the hardest times for my family. I was under the impression that both my parents were not going to be at my birthday party that year. I hadn't seen my dad in over a month because he was with my mom at the hospital in California. To my surprise, my dad flew into Chicago for my birthday party and surprised me. I will forever remember the laundry room door opening and seeing my daddy and hero at the door. I remember running into your arms and feeling safer than I ever had before. My dad became my hero at that point and continued to live up to the role, even through sickness and in health. On my 16th birthday, my dad asked me if he could pick me up from school. Later that day, he pulled up to my school with my birthday gift, a white Jeep, exactly the car I told him I wanted. He always pulled through, and he knew how to keep a surprise. His thoughtfulness and generosity will never be forgotten. Another pure and generous moment was last spring when he took my best college friends and I out for dinner in New Orleans. While I was in class, he went to a vintage gift shop and picked out 8 unique gifts for each of my friends. I remember being just as pleasantly surprised as them. He did not tell me he was going to do that. This little gift meant a lot to both my friends and I. It showed me how gentle, generous, and caring my dad could be. And my friends could not believe how lucky I was to have such a sweet and thoughtful dad. He was so thoughtful and, again, would do anything for me. My freshman and sophomore year of college, he moved me in both times. He would help me unpack and was in charge of hanging up my clothes because he was so organized. I remember I walked into my room after he had finished helping and everything was color-coded. My roommate at the time told me it was the most precious thing she'd ever seen, him hanging up my blouses and dresses carefully. He truly knew how to be a dad to a daughter, always patient and gentle with me. May my dad, Jeffrey Fisher's memory and gentle, loving soul be a blessing to us all. Thank you.
Grab, I didn't think it would be a good idea for me to say something. I can't imagine that. Mike, don't leave that jersey around. All I want to say was a wonderful son. The respect that he's gotten from everybody here shows that. And I'm going to close, okay, with just a standing ovation. I think he's deserved it. Thank you. Thank you all for coming and showing the respect that you've given Jeff. He's always made me proud of him and my sons and everybody here. So, again, thank you for all coming. He deserves a standing ovation, and I appreciate that. Thank you. He loved you, Ben. He loved everybody. Thank you, again.
To most people, he was Jeff. But to his childhood friends who knew him from being little and from camp, he was Fish. Jeff and I met at Camp Menominee 45 years ago. He was 11, I was 12. For the next several years, we continued to go to camp together, even becoming co-counselors. From there, we went to college together, and from there, I worked for the Fisher family at Danley's for the next 20 years. Through the years, people who knew of our friendship would comment to me, and they would say, "He's very quiet." I would laugh and say, once you get to know him, you won't be able to shut him up. I would say he was actually one of the funniest guys I ever met in my entire life. With that being said, it brings one story to mind. When Jeff and I were co-counselors, Jeff came to me one night. It was around 1 o'clock in the morning, and shook me, and I'm like, he's like, "Ted, wake up." I opened my eyes, and Jeff's standing over me in his underwear with a tennis racket in his hand. I said, "What's wrong?" He proceeded to tell me that there was a bat flying in the cabin, and he needed me to kill it. I said, "Why can't you just kill it?" He's like, "You're better at it." So Jeff proceeded to run back to his bed, pull his covers over his head. Meanwhile, I'm jumping from bed to bed, trying backhand, forehand, try to kill this bat. So I hear this voice coming from underneath the covers saying, "Let me know when the job is done." Well, 25 minutes later, I succeeded with a forehand, boom. Put the bat out of its misery. I told him, I'm like, "The job's done." He then asked me, he's like, "Did you happen to ask the bat if he brought any family members with him?" I said, "Jeff, yes, I did. He came solo." We both looked up at each other, and we started cracking hysterical. That was Jeff. Jeff, rest in peace, my friend. You will be missed.
There's a poem called "The Measure of a Man" that I think is most fitting in this moment. Not how did he die, but how did he live? Not what did he gain, but what did he give? These are the units to measure the worth of a man as a man, regardless of birth. Not what was his station, but had he a heart? And how did he play his God-given part? Was he ready with a word of good cheer to bring back a smile, to banish a tear? Not what was his shrine, nor what was his creed, but had he befriended those really in need? Not what did the sketch in the newspaper say, but how many were sorry when he passed away? By these standards, and by whatever standards we may measure the life of a person, in the passing of Jeff, we have all suffered a great loss. Jeff was born the youngest of 3 boys to Marshall and to Lola of blessed memory. He was apparently the daughter that Lola had always wanted. he was her baby. Billy was also like a second mother with whom he was so very close. As you've heard, the brothers were very close to one another. They worked together, they played together, they competed with one another, and they graduated from Arizona State. Jeff, before joining the family business, went on birthright to Israel, and that had a profound imprint on his life. Though I was told he was not as so ritually observant, he was very connected to his people and to his God. Not how did he die, but how did he live? Not what did he gain, but what did he give? These are the units to measure the worth of a man as a man, regardless of birth. Jeff was a great salesman. He was very good with people. He was a great listener and conveyed that what was important to you was important to him. Tremendously respectful of other people, and in turn, Marshall, as you said, the respect was returned. He was a good athlete, competitive, but tellingly, I'm told that he played baseball in high school, but left it to work at a pizza shop. And pizza was a theme throughout his life. Although he was very into sports, again, as you heard, a diehard Bears and Cubs fan, went to many games with the family. There were a large circle of friends, as you can see here present this morning. Lifelong friends, as Ted has shared. So many from Camp Menominee, the camp that his children would also attend. Not how did he die, but how did he live? Not what did he gain, but what did he give? These are the units to measure the worth of a man as a man, regardless of birth. Jeff had the unique ability to be able to get along with everyone. Right? He met Penny through Bubby Lola at the East Bank Club. I won't go into the details. Together they brought two wonderful, amazing children into this world, Ross and Sloan. Oh, how he loved them. Ross cherished how his dad spoke to him like a friend who kept it real, taught him loyalty, taught him to be competitive and to always try to do your best. Sloan, as you heard, loved the way that he was so sensitive, a great dad to a daughter. His creative side came out as well in fashion, well-dressed, giving her tips. Apparently, he also came up with nicknames for your friends. There's another way of connecting with you and with them. Not what was his station, but had he a heart? And how did he play his God-given part? Was he ready with a word of good cheer to bring back a smile, to banish a tear? Not what was his shrine, nor what was his creed, but had he befriended those really in need? Jeff loved food, music, travel. Jeff loved life. He met Paula 7.5 years ago at a party. They connected, he invited her out. The rest is history. Their bond was strengthened through ups and downs, through good times and times of challenge. You pointed out that he was a wonderful teacher of golf that you had just taken up as well. Jeff enjoyed the social aspects of golf, meeting new people as well as the competition. He was an attentive son to his father, Marshall. And I'm understanding that he had a way with technology that he could figure things out. He was a generous person. Jeff would go out of his way for you. You could count on him. He connected certainly with people. I'm told that he also developed a strong connection with his pets, always Siamese cats, always Shih Tzu dogs. The strong connection to Israel continued through his life. He went on a trip with JUF, with the Briarwood Buddies, and influenced Ross to go as well, to become more connected to Judaism, which you've heard. Supported Sloan traveling last summer, even though she spent an unpaid internship. He gave her a little bit of a rough time, but was in the end, as he always was, incredibly supportive. Not how did he die, but how did he live? Not what did he gain, but what did he give? These are the units to measure the worth of a man as a man, regardless of birth. Not what was his station, but had he a heart? And how did he play his God-given part? Was he ready with a word of good cheer to bring back a smile, to banish a tear? Not what was his shrine nor what was his creed, but had he befriended those really in need? Not what did the sketch in the newspaper say, but how many were sorry when he passed away? To all who were privileged to be a part of Jeff's circle of family, of friends, colleagues, clients, we are so very grateful for the short time that we had, knowing that Jeff made the most of each moment. May we continue to enjoy his blessing, the blessing of the gifts that he has given, and the blessing that is his memory. A devoted son, a devoted husband, father, friend, uncle. May it always be for a blessing. And to this let us say, Amen. I invite you to rise as you are able for the memorial prayer, El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hametzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShechina, Im Kedoshim Utehorim, Kezohar Akia Masirim, Et Nishmat Yaakov Ben Motel, Shehalach Leolamo, Baal HaRachamim, Yastireu Beseter Kanafav Leolamim, Vayitzror Bitzor HaChaim Et Nishmato, Adonai hu nachalato, v'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo, v'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Jeffrey Scott Fisher, who has entered eternity, Yaakov ben Motel. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. And together let us say, Amen.
This does conclude the service here at the chapel. The family will be receiving condolence calls at the Fisher residence, 1510 Windy Hill Drive in Northbrook, immediately following the burial until 8 p.m. this evening. That information is on your folders as well as on our website. Again, that's until 8 p.m. this evening. Interment will take place at Memorial Park Cemetery. That's 9900 Grosse Point Road in Skokie. The procession will be forming in the parking lot. Please keep in mind a few safety features while in the procession. Keep your bright headlights on at all times. Put your emergency blinkers on. Attach the orange funeral sticker to the passenger portion of your front windshield. And we'll also attach a flag to the roof of your car. And please stay as close as safety permits to the car in front of you. The following family members have been selected to serve as pallbearers. When I call your name, if you please step forward. Pam Fisher, Michelle Fisher, Clay Fisher, Jesse Fisher, Max Fisher, and Gabe Fisher. At this time, I would ask that everyone please rise as the family, the rabbi, Mr. Fisher are escorted from the chapel.